Good afternoon, crochet crew, and welcome back to the tote bag tutorial. In this part of the tutorial, we are going to be joining our skull granny squares together, as well as crocheting the bottom, sides and handles of the bag. So for this part of the tutorial, you're going to need your granny squares, obviously, a pair of scissors, a needle, a tapestry needle, and we'll need some yarn to sew the squares together. It doesn't really matter what colour you'd like. I'm going to use this one, the same as the outside of this square, inside of this one. And I think I'm going to be using a black for the handles, bottoms and sides of the bag. So let's get settled in and get started. Oh, bumped the tripod. So it's at this point that you need to decide what the layout of your granny squares is going to look like. If you've used only 2 different colors like I have, you might want to checkerboard it, or have the front panel completely one skull and the back panel completely the other, which I think is the way I'm going to go. But this is just one of the layouts that I was deciding between. Bear with me. I will get the next one set out so you can have a look at that too. So this is another option that you can use. You could also make the stripes going horizontally, or you can have all the light ones on one side or the dark ones on the other. The options are endless. Like I said, I think I'm going to go for all the light ones on the front of my bag or the dark ones on the back of my bag, with alternating pockets, kind of thing, like so. So after playing around with my granny squares a little bit, I think this is the design that I'm going to go for, and I am going to do the opposite on the other side, and there will be an inside pocket as well as an outside pocket, and the bag is going to be lined as well, but the lining is going to come in a separate tutorial. So now that we've got our design figured out, let's get to the sewing part. So I'm going to use my lighter coloured yarn, and to start off the sewing, I'm going to sew these in vertical strips. So I'll be joining the bottoms and the tops of each row first. So I'm going to get myself, clear this away and get myself set up to go, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to be joining these squares using a mattress stitch, which is actually my favorite method of joining sewing squares together, actually. So to use the mattress stitch, we are only going to be sewing into the back loops of each of these squares. So firstly, please make sure all your squares are the right way around, otherwise you will be unpicking and it's not a pleasant experience. So to start off, I'm going to go into, so on the corner over here, you've got your 2 chain stitches. So I'm going to go from the bottom up into the chain closest to this row's double crochets, this side's double crochets even. And I'm going to leave a couple of inches at the tail end of my yarn, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. On this square, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top in the back loop only, in the chain closest to the row that I'm sewing on. Okay, and that is how we join them. So we go from the bottom up into the back loop only, Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit better. So here we go from the bottom up through the back loop only, like so. And we keep joining stitch by stitch the entire way across the row. And you can pull tighter. I've just left it a bit loose right now so that you can see what I am doing. So you can, sorry, I've moved it completely out of the camera view. Okay, so you can see back loop only through both threads, and then when you pull tight, that is what it will look like. Okay, so I'm going to get all the way across here, and I will be right back. So there we have our first 2 squares sewn together. Once you're done, thread away. You can tie a little knot, tie a little knot at the end here. Make sure you're coming out at the same point. So you want to go into, where am I? We want to go into one of the chains, not the second one. You want to stop at that first chain there. Okay, and then I need to zoom out again. Wrong way. There we go. Just tie a single knot at the end and just thread away your ends. Just through that same seam that you've just created. And snip that away, and then we'll sew in our other seam as well. This is a little bit strange. I like to use 2 needles so I don't have to keep threading and rethreading. So you can knot it on this side as well, and then thread it through that seam that we have just created. But make sure it's on the back only, because you don't want to go into just there we go, like so. And that is your first seam. So that is what you will do for all of the squares. So I've got 4 squares per row, and I've got 4 rows, so I'm going to be doing that to join them all. And once I've done that, I will come back and show you how we connect the horizontal rows. So I've just finished my first row. That is what it is looking like at the moment. And I will check in again, possibly after the next one, possibly after I've finished all 4 rows. I'll see you in a second. So that is everything sewn up actually for the front and the back panels, as you've just seen. So now we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing, just on a bigger scale. So you will match stitch by stitch going all the way up for your front panel and for your back panel. So if we get that done, and then I will come back and we will go through the actual crochet part of this project. So we have done all of the sewing now. We've got 2 pieces, the front panel and then the back panel, like so. And we've now got to the actual crocheting part. So I'm going to get some yarn and I will be right back. So I found myself some black double knit yarn and a size 4 crochet hook. And we're going to start working around the outside first. We're going to put a border on each of these panels, and then we're going to create 2 side panels and a bottom panel as well as the handles. So let's get started. So I'm going to start in the top right hand corner in this very edge piece here, and we're going to connect our black yarn. It's not going very well. There we go. And in this corner I am going to do a chain of 3, chain of 2, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into this hole. Okay, from there I'm going to do a double crochet into every stitch going across, and including this stitch I'm going to put a stitch into this section here. So let's work our way over to that so I can show you what I'm going to do. Right, so into this space on the side panels we're going to do a double crochet into each of these stitches. So one in the gap here, like so. Dropped my stitch, there we go. Okay, one into this stitch here, and that's the stitch that's sewn the 2 panels together. Okay, it's not a stitch from the actual granny square, it's the stitch from sewing the 2 panels together. Okay, and then we're going to do one in this corner here. Okay, like so. So we're going to continue across, actually we're going to continue around our skull panel, I guess, and with that, so you're going to work the corners the same way you did on the granny square. So it will be 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets, and that is how you'll work your corners. Okay, so I'm going to work this round and I will see you when I get back here. So I've just got to the corner, so I wanted to demonstrate for you what we're doing in the corners. As I said, we're going 2 double crochets, so 1, 2, 2 chains, 1 and 2, and then 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. Like so. So just exactly the same as we did for the skull granny squares in the first place. So I'm going to continue working around. This time I probably won't come back until I'm right at the end, but who knows. I will see you when I've got to the end. So as you can see, I've worked my way all the way around the outside with the black yarn, and I'm just coming up to this final corner here. And we're going to work, I think, another 2 rows of the black. It might be more, but I think 2 rows will be fine. Sorry, my cat is attacking my yarn. Right, so when you get to this corner here, like so, at this corner, we're going to put 2 double crochets in here. 1 and 2. We're then going to chain 2. 1, 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the top chain of our first round. Like so, hopefully. There we go. Okay, and that is our completed row. Let's have a look. So the work that we're doing now, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other panel. And yeah, so we're going to do, I think another 2 rows. It may be more. It'll be at least 2 rows, let's say that. So yeah, you carry on working as before with 2 double crochets, 2 chains, and then 2 double crochets in each of the corners. Apart from that, it'll be a double crochet in every stitch all the way around. I'm going to work another 2 rows and I will come back to you. So we've now worked the black border all the way around our skull motifs. And we're now going to put the sides and the bottom on. And to do that, we are still using our black yarn, 4mm crochet hook, and we are going to join the yarn to the top left hand corner in the chain, and we're going to do this through the back loop only this first row. So we're going to join chain 2, and we are going to work half double crochets through the back loop only, like so. And we are going to work these all the way down to the first chain on this corner, and then we're going to turn and work back across the row. So back chain only. Let's get this side done. I'll be right back. So we're coming up to the end of our row now, and we're going to work again into the back loop only of this first chain here. We're then going to chain 2, and we're going to turn our work. Okay, we're then going to work half double crochets all the way back across, and we are going to work 3 rows of half double crochets now. So it will be 4 rows of half double crochets in total. So let me show you what we're going to do actually, bear with me. So this is the other side of the bag, and as you can see there is, let me move that up a little bit, you can see there's a little flap on the bottom, a little one on either side as well. And that is the piece. We will then sew both pieces together, and that will create our bag. So that is what we are putting together, crocheting on this piece here. So we'll do 4 rows of half double crochets on either side and the bottom. Just remember, the first row needs to be through the back loop only. So I will get these 3 sides done, and then we will start the process of sewing it together before we start the straps. So once we've worked away and created these extra 4 rows on both sides and on the bottom, we're going to join them along this corner here. So how we do that is, you want the right side of the piece. Let's just thread our needle first. Okay, so you want the right side of the piece facing you, as this one is here. And we're going to fold it. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see a bit better. So we're going to join these 2 pieces quite simply. Okay, we're going to go from the bottom up, so, and we want to do it on the outside, the very outside piece. It's a little bit fiddly. Here we go. And we're going to work from the outside into the inside, I guess, but always going from the bottom up. Okay, and once we are at this inside piece here, we'll grab the fabric on the outside, and we're going to tug, and we're going to pull that tight, and you'll watch that those corners join in. And don't pull it too tight that the scrunches in, because we want it to be a corner. There we go, like so. There we go. I think I've pulled it too tight now, but that's what it should look like. So I've done it on the other piece. I'll show you that before I thread this bit away. So there's it completed on both sides. So you can see that the bottom and the side pieces are joined. Like, well, you can't really see because of the black, but trust me, it is joined. So if you get those joined on both pieces, we will then start joining both of our pieces together to create the bag. So yeah, let me get my corners sewn away and I will be back in just a sec. So this is what our pieces look like at the moment. I have laid one on top of each other with the wrong sides facing each other, and we are going to join these two pieces very much, in fact, exactly the same way as we joined the skull motifs in the first place. Just on the black side this time instead of on the skulls. So I'm just threading a tapestry needle. I'm giving myself quite a long piece of yarn to work with. It does mean that I'm going to have to go slowly when I do this, because otherwise the yarn will get all tangled up. So yeah, I will need to move slowly when I'm doing this, but I do prefer to get it done all in one piece rather than having to rethread my needle multiple times. By all means, if you prefer working with shorter pieces of yarn, then please do. So what I've done, I've turned the bag upside down essentially, and I am going to zoom in. Let's see what we can do here. Right. Okay. So as we did for the skulls, we're going to go from the bottom up, and we want so we want the back loop only from this from both sides. So you want to conjoin only the loops that are touching. So we want the outside loops left on their own. Okay, so that's a good starting point there. And then we're going to go into that one there. Okay, so this loop here, and I feel like you can't really see it very well. It's terrible trying to show someone something with black yarn because it doesn't really show up on the camera very well. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Every now and then we are going to have to pull it tight. And we want it tight, not so tight so that it gathers up, but tight enough that you're not going to see the thread through. Okay, so I'm going to work my way around the entire bag, and I will come back at the very end when I am done. Then it'll only be the straps of the bag left to do. Okay, so let me get this done and I will join you again in a minute. So as you can see, we have sewn the bag part up together now, and we have the lighter design on one side and the darker design on the other. And I've been having a think about it. I think I want to add some kind of closure to the top of it. So I was going to use some extra, or some of the leftover skulls, and I'm going to create a border around this piece. So it's got a flap that comes over, and then we're going to do one long strap around the top. That's the aim. So I'm now going to work on this piece here. I am going to work rows of double crochets around that part of around these 6 squares, and try and get it as thick as this section here. So that would be probably about 5 rows of double crochet all the way around. So I'm going to get that done, and I will come back. I feel like I'm saying that a lot throughout this video. Bear with me, let me get my camera back on my tripod and we can start working into these squares together. So I am going to join the yarn again in this top right hand corner, and we're going through both loops, so there's no back of loop crochet this time round. And we're just going to join the yarn and chain 3 for double crochets. There we go. And we're going to just double crochet in every stitch around, apart from the corners, which are going to be 2 double crochets, 2 chains, and then another 2 double crochets. So I'm going to get this whole piece, this whole first row done, and I will come back towards the end of the row just to show you how we join it at the end, although I'm sure that you know by now, as we've done it a couple of times on this project already. But let's get the flap of this design. The design of the bag has actually changed since I started making it. It was going to be a tote bag, but as I've looked at it, I think it's just going to look nicer as a messenger bag, hence the flap going across the top. And I think we're going to put some buttons on it as well, so that we can button the flap down so it's a little bit more secure. But we'll get there. We'll work through this together and we will get there. So I'm going to get the rest of this row crocheted, and I will be back in a second to join at this end of the row. So I did also forget to mention that in these sections here, we're going to put a double crochet into this space here, a double crochet into the stitch joining the 2 squares together, and then a double crochet in the next 2 chain space. And we'll do that at each join in the squares. Okay, I'm going to finish the row and I'll be back in just a sec. So I have worked all the way around these 6 skull squares, and I've come up to the final corner here. In that corner we've already got a chain 3 where we joined our yarn, so in this stitch we are going to do 2 double crochets like so, 2 chains, 1, 2, another double crochet, and then we are going to slip stitch into that top chain. I'm sorry about the noise from the building site next door. We're then going to do 3 more chains. Sorry, my yarn is all knotted up in the ball next to me. Okay, so we've got 3 chains, and then we will just continue with the next round. So we'll do I'll do 4 rows to start. I think it's going to be 5, but I'll start with 4 and I will come back before that 5th row. So as it turns out, I have found this old guitar strap, and I'm going to repurpose this as the strap for my handbag, which is really nice and easy because it's just going to button on instead of crocheting the whole thing. And I think I'm going to use some large safety eyes, and yeah, just button it to the side of the bag using safety eyes, which works out really well. So I'm going to put some safety eyes on it now, I think, because obviously they need to go on before I do the lining. So bear with me, I'm just going to pick up the bag. Okie dokie, so I've got myself 2 large safety eyes and the backs that go with them. I've got my bag. Let me move my drink before I knock that over. So I've got the bag here and I've got the guitar strap. Okay, so I am going to just measure. So that's the side of my bag. And luckily what we did earlier is we did, you can see that is your center seam there. Sorry, I'm not even showing it to you. Can you see that? Can you see that center seam there? Okay, so I'm going to take the guitar strap and just pop it along that center seam. So I've measured it just with this leather matching up with the opening to the bag. Okay, so that is where I want to pop my safety eye. Pop that in there. And then pop the back on it. There we go, one safety eye. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So there we have our seam in the middle. I'm going to use the guitar strap to line that up with the top. Where are we? Line that up with the top, like so. Pop the safety eye up. Oh, mislined it now. Let's try holding it this side. Okay. That is our seam. Line that up with the top. And that is where I want my safety eye. Right in the seam. Push that through a bit better. Pop the back on it. Okay, let's attach our strap. Needs to loosen up a little bit. There we go. And there we have our bag with the straps attached. I do actually wonder if they're in the right place. But I'm going to play around with that and I will fix it if necessary. It might be okay. But for now, we are going to move on to the lining of our bag. So for the lining of my bag, I am actually using a pillowcase. Okay, I'm not going to be using the white side, only the grey. But first things first, in order to get the fabric, I need to take the pillowcase apart. So I am going to be taking my good old-fashioned chunky fabric scissors, and I am going to cut all the way down both sides. So I am going to get that done and then I will be back. So for the lining of our bag, it's very straightforward. I've used a pillowcase, and I've already done the ironing, measuring and cutting, just to make this a lot more straightforward when I show you. Okay, so here, let me zoom out. Here is our bag, and that is the right way round at the moment. Okay, and on top of the bag, I'm going to lay my lining, which I have measured out inside. I have folded over the top edges, and I have marked down the side edges where I'm going to sew. Now I'm going to sew this by hand because it's quick and easy, and honestly I can't get my sewing machine to work right now. But a quick back stitch to slip this all. So you sew up that side and you sew up that side, and bear with me. Sorry about that. Real life got in the way somehow. I try and plan these things out so well, and one way or another, something always distracts me. Right, so we're hand stitching this using the back stitch. We're going to sew up the side there along that line that I have. So I have ironed in a straight line about 1/2 inch from the edge, and I've done it on the same side here. This side's a little bit wonky, so after I've sewn it, I'm going to tidy up the edges. Once I've done that, I am going to turn this inside out. Am I? No, I'm going to pop this inside out. I'm going to pop this inside of here, and then I am going to sew around the outside of here. I'll show you that part in more detail when I get there, but for now, what we're doing is sewing up either side of our piece of fabric. So I have now sewn up both sides of the lining of my bag. I'm now going to turn this one inside out. Or rather, put it the right way round, I guess. Okay, so there we have it. It does look significantly smaller than my bag, but it'll be fine. We hope. We're now going to turn my bag inside out. And pop this bag inside. Is that right? Yes. So this goes inside there, and we line it up perfectly, like so. Where is it? There we go. That's a seam that goes there. Make sure that you're lining up your seams with the seam of the bag, and we will clip those in place like so. Okay. I do know that I need to pull this up a bit, so maybe pins are going to be better. Bear with me. I'm just going to grab some pins. So I started again and forgot to record it. So I've got the pins out and I'm just pinning the lining in place. Like so. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. There we go. So both sides now are pinned in place, and we are going to backstitch the lining in place. So I'm going to come back once that is done, and we should be able to finish off the bag then. So I have now finished lining the bag, as you can see. A beautiful inner bag, and you can see that the lining through all of the skulls as well. So the final step in this bag, using a mattress stitch, I'm going to attach this top flap to the back of the bag. So just fold that over a little bit. And just so you can see, there we go. So this is going to sit, I will measure it properly and attach it like so, but so that it flaps over the top of the bag. So I'm going to get a needle and the black yarn, and we can do this together. Okie dokie. So first of all, to make sure that I put this in the right place, I've got my tape measure, and I am going to measure across the top of this bag. So from there to, let's just say to that. Okay, 17 inches. That's pretty spot on. And then this piece here, see from there, there we go, that side. From that corner there to this corner here, it would be a half inch. So that's 14.5 inches. So 17 minus 14.5, 2.5, is that correct? Yes. So that's 2.5. And so we divide 2.5 by 2. So you've got 1.25. So we need to mark on the back here 1.25 inches from this side. So that's 1.25, and that goes there. So we'll pop a pin in there just to mark the spot. And then to do 1.25 on this side as well. that is there, so we'll pop another pin in just there as well. And that is how we know that space there is where we're going to sew the top of our bag to. Okay, so pop that away now, and we're going to pull some yarn from our ball, that much, well, as much as more than enough actually, and a needle. Okay, so here we go again, and using mattress stitch once again. Okay, we're going to, let me move this sideways like so I can see it better. And we are going to start with this stitch here. Let's go, we're going to go front loop on this one, back loop on this one. So we go up, sorry, show you through this. So we go from the bottom through that, from the bottom through the front loop only of that stitch. Okay, and pull our yarn through. It's caught on my pin, I don't need the pin anymore. Okay, and then on the very edge stitch here, so I'm going to use this first chain, I'm going to go through the back loop only of that stitch and pull it together. So through the bottom we go up and through that stitch there, and from the bottom up through that stitch there, and we're going to keep doing that across the entire flap, I guess, of this bag. And so as you can see, going up through the front loop of the bag and the back loop of the flat. I am going to get this done and I will show you what I've done at the end. So I am now just sewing away the last edge from the flap that I've just sewn on. Snip that off, and pin cushion. And there we have our bag. There she is. Zoom out a bit more. Oh, that's the best I can do. Hold on, I'll lift the tripod. There you go, there we have our bag. There will be some shots at the end of me having the bag on me, I guess. I'm going to pop this guitar strap on the side using the buttons we put on earlier. I wanted to thank you for joining me for this tutorial. I've had, like I said earlier, it's been more of, you guys have been along with me for the ride as I designed something rather than me teaching you too much. I mean, hopefully with the steps I've given you, you will be able to make a bag of your own. Hopefully I haven't just confused matters the entire time. This video itself has probably been an hour, maybe an hour and a half, when in reality it's taken me 3 days. And that's just the building the bag part. That wasn't even making the granny squares in the first place. So this definitely is slow fashion and we love her. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you try and make something for yourself. Making something for yourself is such a worthwhile experience. Please follow along for more tutorials. Like, subscribe, share, do all of the things. And I will see you in our next one. Happy crocheting!